Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 201 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm back from New Jersey. It was fantastic doing last week's show. It was a great one, but that is now a thing of the past. I'm back from the US, but I'm joined by a man that has been away for a long time, Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, welcome back. How are you and where have you been?
Welcome back. Yes, I've been about. I've literally just come back from a long flight from New York last night as well. So it's been a really tiring summer. So yes, back on the show already.
Because you wasn't in America, because I know that you must have been in America for a little period of time. Because again, we had sightings, eyes that you were in Eastern Europe. I'd heard a sighting in Asia. Where were you before that?
Yes, I was in Pakistan.
You was in Pakistan the whole time?
Yeah, for 2 weeks, and then for two and a half weeks, and then came back, went straight to New York.
Okay. No, that's okay. Because you were hard to contact, Mr. Summer. I didn't know where you were at certain times.
Yes, in Pakistan, the signals, but internet is very, very bad there.
I've heard that one before. All right, let's start, though, with a review part of the show. Let's start at the Memorial Hall in Kansas City, USA. Shane Mosley Jr., obviously the son of, he's now 15-3. It was a unanimous decision over 10 rounds against Calvin Metcalf, who's now 9-3 with one draw. There wasn't too much really to mention from last weekend, but also at the Hospodka Eden in Ústí nad Labem in Czechoslovakia. I think they don't even call that Czechoslovakia anymore. I think they call it Czech Republic. We're going to go with that. Tom Schwartz, he bounced back from the KO loss to Tyson Fury. He come back with a knockout of his own in the very first round against Radak Varak, who's now 6-8, but Tom Schwartz 25-1. Like I say, a first round TKO. Moving out now to the Friedrich Ebert Hall in Ludwigshafen, Germany. Vinny Feigenbert's now 31-2. It was for the vacant IBO International Super-Middleweight title and the GBU World Super-Middleweight title. He took on the previously undefeated Cesar Nunes, now 16-1 with one draw, a TKO there in the 8th round for Vinny Feigenbert's. Moving out now to the Bank of California Stadium in Los Angeles, California, USA. This one was shown on the ESPN Plus app. Let's start with the undercard, actually. I'm going to start here with Arnold Barboza Jr. He picked up a win. He's now 22-0. He took on Ricky Sismundo, a tough guy. He's been around quite a while, Sismundo, now 35-15 with 3 draws. Sismundo was down in the 3rd round and he decided to quit on his store after 4 rounds. He didn't want to come out for round 5, so a stoppage win there for Barboza Jr. Also on the bill, Jesse Magdaleno picked up win number 27. He's still got that one loss, which was to Isaac Dogbe. It ended up being a technical decision after 9 rounds. It was only scheduled to go 10, but they couldn't carry on after Magdaleno. I think he was already cut on his nose early on in the fight, but his right eye got cut from an accidental elbow, I believe it was, in that 9th round. And also Rivera himself was down in that 9th round. So Rafael Rivera, I believe a former opponent of Leo Santa Cruz, that's his 4th loss. He's now 27-4 with 2 draws. It went to the cards after 9, and Magdaleno got it. It was pretty wide there, almost a shutout really. Also on the bill, we should mention Chris Van Heerden, a guy, like I say, that's been through a lot of very bad stuff outside of the ring. His dad got murdered a few months back. He took on Aslanbek Kozayev. It was a guy with a great record, but he wasn't a fantastic fighter. 33-3 with 1 draw now. Kozayev was cut on the bridge of his nose in round 3. His left eye was cut in round 5, and Van Heerden was actually cut on his left eye in the 1st round, and he was cut on his right eye in the 5th round. But both of those cuts came from accidental head clashes. So both men got cuts, and it was quite bloody. An 8-round unanimous decision there, though, to Mr. Van Heerden, like I say. Emmanuel Navarrete, the dog-based slayer, I call him now, 28-1. He took on Francisco de Vaca, 20-0. De Vaca was. It was an undefeated fighter, but a guy with quite a padded record, to be honest. De Vaca was stopped on his feet, really. The referee jumped in. He was on the ropes, a bit defenceless in round 3 there. So a successful defense of Navarrete's WBO World Super Bantamweight title. And that is about everything from the review part of the show. Like I said, there wasn't too much to go over from last weekend. That is everything there. It's now time to welcome our very first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the top super middleweight contender. It is, of course, Mr. Denis Douglin. Denis, welcome back on the show, my man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man.
It's always a pleasure, Denis. It truly is. We haven't spoke for quite a while. I think it's been about a year. We actually last spoke just before the Vaughan-Alexander fight. Of course, you went on to win that one pretty much by a shutout, over 10 rounds. And, of course, since then you've boxed Saul Roman. You stopped him in 6 rounds. Just give us a word on those fights if you can, Denis.
Yeah, I mean, I went into those 2 fights and the same thing I'm doing now. Is I go into fights with the mentality of win or retire, man. I'm tired of, I was playing around with boxing, not taking it serious, partying, drinking, wasn't really training. So I gave all that up, and I told myself I'm going to sacrifice everything for every fight right now, and if I lose, then I know I'm not good. But before I was losing, I'm like, I didn't really train for that, so that don't really count. So I'm giving myself all I can for every fight, and it's looking good. Like everybody, I was the underdog against Vaughan-Alexander, and that fight was easy. And then for Saul, I thought it was going to be a good fight, and I beat him up. And now everyone's saying, clearly I'm not underdog for this fight, but we're going to see what happens September 21st.
We certainly will. And I want to ask you, what's your training situation? Because obviously your mum's involved. She always has been. I know you were working with the Benavidez camp for a while. Has anything changed? Update me.
Yeah, well, Benavidez right now is in California, or he's somewhere else, getting ready for Dirrell. So we're not together for this camp, but it's still all up for Benavidez. I might go out there, get some work around a little bit for a week or 2, but we're not together right now. He's focused on David's fight, which, I mean, like I said, I completely understand. So we're separated right now, but that's still a homie. Although I still want to fight him again, too, after this fight. So we homies, but I still want that rematch.
Yeah, for sure. And, I mentioned those 2 fights that you've had. They were both last year, but I've got to bring this up. You made headlines this year in the early part of 2019, of course, for being part of Chris Eubank's camp. And then when you went back to the UK, you said, hey, I think James DeGale's going to win the fight. I don't know if you were just messing around, because I know that you like to play games sometimes, Denis, but it went all Chris Eubank's way. Were you shocked by that, by the fight, the way it panned out?
Nah, I wasn't shocked. If you look at the interview, what I said was, if it's the James DeGale that fought like 3 fights ago, I forgot what fight it was. No, not the Caleb fight. I said if the James DeGale that fought Caleb Truax, there's no way he beats him. There's no way James DeGale wins. But if it's the DeGale that fought Badou Jack, we'll have a good fight. It's gonna be a good fight, and I think DeGale's gonna win. But we got the older Truax DeGale, and he was no match for Chris. You know what I'm saying? And then, I was poking fun. I mean, like, me and Chris are still cool. I was like, he actually just hit me up to come out there to help him for some fight, but I have my own fight going on. But me and Chris still cool. But yeah, I told him to his face. I said, I'm going to talk reckless about you because I want to fight you myself. And you talked your way into the DeGale fight, so I'm going to talk my way into fighting you. Like, you're a champion now. So, like, you're one of my targets too. So people seem to misconstrue, like the boxing fans seem to think that if I'm in your camp, that means we're friends. Me and Chris aren't friends. We're cool. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing but respect for him, his dad, everything. I have nothing but respect for him. But we're rivals. We're in the same weight class. So if I get the opportunity to fight you, I'm gonna fight you. So I did that more so to get my name around his name and people wanted us to fight. Like, that's what that really was about, which didn't happen. But I still want to fight him too. After this fight's gonna open up a lot of doors for me. So he's one of the names on my list next.
I just don't want you to get off the phone and start telling people you want to knock me out next. I thought we were friends as well.
Nah, see, me and you are cool. I'm saying, like, that's what I tell people. Like, I look at boxing totally different than a lot of boxers look at it. They look at it as, like, if we're in the same weight class, we have to hate each other and all that. No, like, I actually like a lot of the guys in weight class, like Caleb Plant. Me and Caleb train in the same gym. I see him every day, all the time. Benavidez, we actually fought. He beat me. We trained together after that. I'm saying, like, I have no problem with these guys, but if we're in the same weight class, I still want to fight you. That's all it is. Like, that's what we're here for. Like, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James are best friends. When they play each other, they play each other. That's it. So that's how I look at it. Like, you gotta get the boxing as a lifestyle, but it's a sport. I feel like people get caught up in it's a lifestyle. Yeah, it's a lifestyle on how you train and all that. But we could be cool, like all the extra fighting. Like, we could be cool. I have no problem with any of them. I still want to fight you. And then after I beat you up, I'll take you out to eat or whatever.
I remember that Tevin Farmer did that recently when he defended his title against John O'Carroll. He took him for a Philly cheesesteak after the fight.
Exactly. That's cool, man. Like, that's cool. Like, there's no real... We have no beef with each other. Like, we're all trying to be champions. We're all trying to feed our kids. But I got to go through you in the ring. That doesn't mean I dislike you as a person at all. Like I said, like, I like Caleb Plant a lot, actually. But after this fight, I already told him in the job that after this fight, when I beat Uzcategui, your name is going to be all over my Instagram, all over my Twitter. In every interview I do, I want to fight you. I want you next. But you're super cool, though, bro.
but no, anyways, back onto your career, Dennis. Obviously, your next fight, we touched on it there. It's been announced. It's going to be Jose Uzcategui on September 21st in California. What do you know about Jose, Dennis?
I don't know much was outside of the fights that I saw. He's a very busy fighter. He's long. He's a good fighter. Like, I think very highly of him. I think he's a great fighter. I think it's a great fight for my career. And it's going to be a great fight either way. I think he knows how tough I am as an opponent. But even if people don't know that, he knows. So I think it's going to be a great action-packed fight. But like I said before, like, it's win or retire for me. I'm not losing. So it's going to be good, but I'm going to get my hand raised.
Yeah, because, I mean, he looked like a real danger man for a while. Obviously become the first man to beat and stop Julius Jackson. Then he went on to bully Andre Dirrell in both of their fights. And then, of course, James DeGale, people forget, he vacated the belt instead of fighting Uzcategui. And then, of course, Uzcategui went on to lose to Caleb Plant. And it's hard to know where he's at now because Plant himself was sublime that night, to give him some credit. It's hard to know where Uzcategui's at after that defeat there.
Yeah, I agree. Like, and that's what makes this fight so interesting because he's an avoided fighter. Again, people don't know. People outside of boxing, you know me. But as far as boxers, I'm an avoided fighter too. Mainly because like my record doesn't really give my talent the kind of like the attention it deserves. But these fighters know how good I am. So like nobody really wants to fight me because I'm a dangerous fight with not that much upside. So I'm avoided. He's avoided. I think it's a great fight. And people don't know where he is. People don't know who I am. So it's a good coming out fight for both of us in a sense.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Now, I feel like, you know, you were right in that Anthony Dirrell fight, obviously, till the fight got stopped. And then you went on to box Alexander, like we mentioned, then Roman. And like I say, you won both of those fights. Now you're taking on Uzcategui. But I also think that you'd probably rather have a crack at some of the bigger names in the division. Have you got anyone in your sights at all? I know you touch on Plant there. Is that the guy that you really want to fight the most out of the rest of them?
The person I'm going to fight the most is Benavidez because I want my rematch. Like I said, when I fought Benavidez, I took it in 4 weeks' notice, and I was living, like I was partying, drinking, 65 4 weeks' notice, and he's the kind of fighter, much respect to David, he's a true professional, always in the gym, always training. You can't fight a guy like that with 4 weeks' notice. You need a full camp. You got to respect that man's talent. So I'm mad at myself for not respecting his talent enough and taking that fight with 4 weeks' notice. And I honestly still think I gave him one of his toughest fights. Like, even though he got dropped in that fight with the other guy, I forgot his name, the one he fought twice.
Gavril.
I still think my fight was tougher. Yeah, Gavril. And I still think my fight was tougher. And like I said, I wasn't all the way mean. Then after that, we went to camp together and we sparred countless rounds. Anybody in the gym would tell you, like, wow, like, you could pay for our sparring session. So, like I said, I have nothing but respect for David, but he's a fight that I definitely want. And me and him talk about, like I said, me and him are really friendly. Every time we see each other, I tell him I want our rematch. He tells me to win some fights first. I tell him, okay, so I got to win this fight. I want to take Caleb's belt, and then I want the rematch for him.
Yeah, because I just got back myself from New Jersey, and I was driving around a few different boxing gyms, and I actually spoke to a guy who, funny enough, I was talking about David Benavidez and how much I rate him, and the guy actually in the gym said to me, yeah, but Denis Douglin was beating him until he got stopped in that final round. So it's weird that we're talking because that's what the guy actually said. So, you know, yeah, a lot of people agree you gave him a real tough fight there.
Yeah, I told him, listen, bro, if I didn't get tired, bro, I was beating you. But, yeah, I got tired. I was really tired from the third round, and it was just all me pushing. But I know with a little bit more conditioning and being an actual professional like he is, then taking the sport serious like you have to do. You can't, like everybody says, you can't play boxing. I always make jokes that I play boxing, but you can't play boxing. And if I take it serious, which I'm doing now, I personally don't think Benavidez could beat me. But he's a monster. Yeah. He looks super scary. His last fight against Leon, he looked ridiculously scary. Against Dirrell, I see him running through Dirrell. So I'm excited. I want to fight the boogeyman.
Yeah, no, I know that's the way you like it. I want to get your take on a couple of upcoming fights. Obviously, this weekend, the weight class above you. If you don't know enough about either fighter, then it's totally fine. You don't need to answer. But if you do want to give a prediction, how do you see Kovalev against our very own Anthony Yarde panning out, Dennis?
I personally think I haven't seen enough of Yarde to really rate him that high. I know they offered me him before. They told me to move up. They'll give me the fight, and I want to take it, honestly. But my mother wouldn't allow me to take it. But so I haven't seen him enough to really rate him. So this fight is going to be the fight that I would really use as a gauge. I think very highly of Kovalev. Like I'm saying, like the man, one of my favorite fighters is Andre Ward. And I would say that the first fight with Andre Ward could arguably go both either way. So to go that great with Andre Ward, then he fell off a little bit, but he's since got himself back together. I rate Kovalev very highly. So I'm going with Kovalev with a fight. If he already wins, I think we'll learn a lot about him in this fight. Either way, win or lose, we'll learn a lot about him.
Yeah, I agree. Again, 100% bang on with that one. I also want to get your prediction on this. Obviously, we mentioned it a little bit earlier. You've boxed them both, so who better to give a prediction? It's happening a week after your fight. Anthony Dirrell versus David Benavidez. You kind of said, you kind of answered it already, really. Runs through him. That's just the way you see it going.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. 100% Benavidez, man. Like, I personally don't think Dirrell beat me. He took a corny way out. He complained about a headbutt that didn't happen. You can watch the fight over and over. He never got headbutted. He felt the fight slipping away. He knew he was home. Said they got a headbutt and they called the fight. So I lost. I don't really have it. Like I told you, I'm cool with anybody in my weight class. He's the one fighter I don't really like because one, he pushed me at the way in which we're fighters. Let's fight in the ring. Don't touch me outside of the ring because that's corny to me. So I don't really like him for that in the first place. And then, like, on top of that, I think he's soft. In his last fight, he kind of did the same thing with the headbutt. Granted, that was a real headbutt this time, but he kind of did the same thing. He's just soft. And Benavidez is the wrong kind of fighter to be soft with. That's a rugged dude, man. He's going to come bring it, and I think he's going to break him. So I'm going with Benavidez. That's actually why I wanted to be on that undercard because I'm the only only fighter, period, that's fought both of them. So I would love to be on that undercard fight. I wanted to fight Yildirim on the undercard because I know Yildirim just fought Benavidez. Dirrell. So I want to fight Yildirim, beat Yildirim, get on one of my rematch. But we'll see what happens. So boxing is super exciting right now in all the weight classes. I'm just excited to get my name in the mix. Beating Uzcategui puts my name right up there in the mix.
Yeah, it certainly does. And we've mentioned a couple of the champions at 168. It is such a brilliant weight class. I was saying it, I think, a week or two ago that I can't think of another weight class where all the champions are undefeated, Dennis. I mean, you've got, as I say, Caleb Plant, Benavidez, Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders with a WBO now. Who do you think is the best fighter out of those four? How would you place them 1 through 4 if you can?
Man, you know what's so crazy about the weight class too, on top of everybody being undefeated, is they all bring something totally different to the table. That's what makes it so hard to rate them. Because you have Benavidez, who's the bigger guy with decent boxing skills, but he's really big, which plays to his advantage. He's fast hands for his size, and he's in great shape. You have Caleb Plant, his boxing IQ is top notch. He's smart in the ring, makes good movements. I also think Billy Joe is the same way, another smart fighter who might be a little stronger. So the weight class is all over the place. Did you say one more? Was it 4?
Callum Smith.
Oh, Callum Smith. Callum Smith's another one that's huge. I'm saying, like, I don't really think he's that great of a boxer, but I think he's heavy-handed. He's a big guy. So I think the weight class is stacked right now. So I would personally put David at the top only because Billy Joe's just moving up. So I want to see how he plays out at 168, see how the weight carries up with him. But I think Billy Joe is great. But I'll put David up top, then Billy Joe, then Caleb. That's how I see it.
Okay, the top 3. Okay. Controversial, but okay. And
is that kind of so? Who's everyone saying?
I think
Billy Joe.
Well, in my opinion, the top 2 are definitely Benavidez and Callum Smith. I don't know which one. I mean, Callum Smith, man, the way he dismantled Groves. I mean, he's so heavy-handed. He's 6'3".
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't watch the fight, and that's why I didn't want to rate Callum. I didn't watch it. I heard that, and from the little clips I've seen of him, I've seen him destroy people. So I know he's highly ranked and highly rated, and I know he's huge. So that wasn't me trying to disrespect him. I don't know enough about him to give my opinion. That's all I was.
No, that's fine. But again, listen, people will 100% agree with what you've said because they're They're four fantastic fighters, as I say, all undefeated, all world champions, and they all bring a different thing to the table. So it depends what you like. Do you know what I mean? To rate them. So people will agree 100% with what you said, and probably a few people will agree with what I've said as well. But then
another thing too. I'm sorry, just to go back to that. Another thing too about what styles are so different. And anybody that watches boxing knows styles make fights. You could have one of them that could beat the other one, but then lose to another one. It's kind of like a rock paper scissors thing. Like I could see Billy David being able to beat Caleb, but not being able to beat Callum Smith, but Callum Smith losing to Caleb. Like I can see that happening possibly, where one fighter could beat one, but can't beat the other one, but that other fighter can beat somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like because of the styles are so different.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a sexy division right now. It
so,
really is.
So it's really exciting division. So I'm just trying to sneak my way inside that talk. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Beat one of take one of these O's away from one of these fighters.
And finally, Dennis, man, as always, I like to just throw it over to you to kind of take the microphone and have your little say just before we let you go. If you've got any closing words for our listeners at all, take it away.
I mean, I just want to say thank you, man. You always stayed in contact with me, always kept up with my career. I appreciate it. I'm back in the ring September 21st. I'm super excited. Like I said, for the last 3 fights, and the same rule applies. It's win or retire for me every time. So if I lose, I'm out of here. So check me out. I know people think I talk a lot, which is fine. Come watch me win or lose, and if I lose, I'm done. There we go.
Okay, Dennis. Listen, it is always a pleasure. It is always exciting speaking with you, my friend. Best of luck for next month, and we'll definitely speak afterwards.
Thanks good. Sounds good. Thanks again, man.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. Ayaz, what you got?
Right, the only news for this week is that Scott Fitzgerald will face Ted Cheeseman on the undercard of Robbie Davies Jr. vs. Lewis Ritson on October the 19th at Newcastle Utility Arena. Yeah, a great fight. I know that we've been talking about these 3, I'd say, for a little while, and the 3 that I'm referring to is Ted Cheeseman, Anthony Fowler, and Scott Fitzgerald. Obviously, Fowler and Fitzgerald fought. It was a cracking fight, and Fitzgerald came out the victor there. And, obviously Ted Cheeseman lost to Sergio Garcia. It was the Spaniard from Spain for the European title. But it's a shame, really, because I would have preferred to see the 2 losers fight each other, like, Fowler and Cheeseman, to kind of see who wins that one, and then they fight Scott Fitzgerald. That's what I would have preferred to see, but I'm not moaning. I'm certainly not moaning. Fowler just fought the other week. Ted Cheeseman against Fitzgerald is a brilliant fight, and yeah, it's a cracking fight. Like I say, it's for Cheeseman's British title there, so should be really interesting. Really interesting, because Ted Cheeseman can't just mill forward and walk into shots and use his face as his defence and walk into shots from Scott Fitzgerald all night, and at the same time Scott Fitzgerald can't afford to tire or anything down the stretch. Not that he really did against Fowler, but Ted Cheeseman is such a pressure fighter. He's going to be in your face the whole night. So if you lack a bit of stamina, it can go horribly wrong late on. So it should be a great fight when you actually sit down and think about it. I'm looking forward to that one. Is that the only piece of news, Ayaz? Yeah? Yes, that's it for the news.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayaz. Moving now to the preview part of the show. This one's actually happening later today, Thursday the 22nd of August, at the Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio, California, USA. Friend of the show, Blair Cobbs, 11-0 with 1 draw. He takes on a guy with a complete identical record, 11-0 with 1 draw, Steve Villalobos. So both men prospects there, but all the best to Blair Cobbs. Very good fighter. Also on that bill, by the way, Luis Feliciano, 12-0. A prospect takes on Gennaro Gamez, who's 9-0. So 2 prospects once again getting it on. That is a Golden Boy promotion show. So 2 good fights there to look forward to tonight, mainly. Moving over now to Saturday. This Saturday at the Ace Club in Victory Square in Cairo, Egypt. We've got Prince Patel bouncing back after his IBO world title fight loss. His record 19-1 with 1 draw. He fights for the vacant African Boxing Union bantamweight title against Idi Kayumba, who is 11-1 with 2 draws. So Patel back in a title fight already, a 12-rounder there. Moving out now to Mexico. This one is the Match from Mexico show. We get to see Juan Francisco Estrada, 39-3, fight Dwayne Boumon, who has a record of 16-1 with 1 draw. It is, of course, the defense of Estrada's WBC. I mean, Estrada, after his last fight, obviously, when he took on Wangek, it was, I think it was the second fight. I'm not sure if they've had 3 or 2 or whatever, but it was a brilliant fight, by the way. And this one is very much, I don't really want to say an easy touch as such, but it's a step down really from that kind of fight. I think it's a bit of a homecoming as well. Like I say, the fight happening in Mexico, and he takes on, as I say, Dwayne Boumon. I love his nickname. His nickname is Mr. Stop Running. Okay, so he likes to get it on. He likes to bang, and he's only got the 1 loss, like I say, and he actually avenged it. He come back with a win against the guy. So not a bad fighter, but you look down his resume, and I mean, again, he hasn't really fought at this level, so this is his big chance here, and you'd have to, of course, favour the champion. Estrada, a fantastic fighter. Also on that undercard, we get to see Liam Smith, 27-2 with 1 draw, and he actually takes on Mario Lozano, who's got a record of 33-9. When you look down his record, he's got losses to Jamel Charlo, Vanes Martirosyan, Charles Hatley, and a very questionable loss actually to Alejandro Gomez, who was only 0-2 when he fought him, and he actually knocked this guy out. So, like I say, looking down his resume, he's fought some good guys, but he hasn't beaten really any great guys. Some of his wins are against guys with good-looking records, but nothing... no one really to blow you away. He does actually hold a win against Canelo's brother Ramon Alvarez on points back in 2012. But other than that, nothing really that catches your eye. So you'd expect Liam Smith to win that one. Also on that bill, John O'Carroll, friend of the show, 16-1 with 1 draw. He takes on Eliezer Valenzuela, who's 20-11 with 4 draws. Again, looking down his resume, I mean, he's the guy that took on Jose Uzcategui, and it went down as a no contest earlier this year. I think it was in April or May. Again, a bunch of losses on his record to guys that I don't really know. I mean, one of them was to Emmanuel Navarrete that we mentioned earlier on. He also lost to Zhu Shimin early on, a guy that really fights anyone. So I've got a bit of respect there. Well, I've got respect for every fighter, but I've got a bit of added respect for Valenzuela here. But again, he shouldn't really be able to match John O'Carroll. Obviously, he was able to push Tevin Farmer fairly close in that fight there. Also on the bill, Filip Hrgovic, the bronze medalist from the 2016 Olympic Games. He fights with his WBC international heavyweight title on the line against Mario Heredia, 16-6 with 1 draw. Again, you look down Heredia's record, it doesn't really have the wins or the names even in his losses. So this is a bit of a showcase bill, I think, really. And the Mexican fight fans obviously like to see, probably, I'm guessing, knockouts and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think they're going to be in for a bit of a treat if they do like that. And finally, Shakram Giasov, a guy that won a silver medal in the 2016 Olympic Games. He actually lost to Daniel Yelusinov in the final. But, yeah, very, very good. Very, very good amateur. He was over 150 wins as an amateur, an Uzbek fighter. And he actually takes on Darlis Perez, a guy that we know really well. And I really like what they're doing with Giasov in terms of his matchmaking. He's coming off a win over Emmanuel Taylor. He's been in there with a few decent guys that I've heard of, the likes of Gabor Gorbik, stuff like that. I mean, he's won all of these fights, and most of them by knockout. But yeah, Darlis Perez, a guy that we know really well as well. It's a tough fight, really, even for a good amateur to take on someone like him in your 9th fight. I quite like that matchmaking there. That, for me, is the standout fight of that card anyway. But moving over now to Russia at the Tractor Sports Palace in Chelyabinsk. Ayaz. Let's start with the undercard. We get to see Andrei Sorokin, former opponent of John Ryder. That's where his one loss came from. I think that one was at the Copper Box. John Ryder was losing that fight until he knocked him out, by the way. Sorokin, a decent fighter. It's for the WBC Silver Super-Middleweight title. He takes on Azizbek Abdugofarov, 12-0, a good amateur. Abdugofarov, probably saying his name wrong there, but that should be quite interesting. But this is the fight that I really like on this bill, by the way, aside from obviously the main event, which we're going to talk about in a sec. But there's a guy here called Alexei Papin, 11-0 with 10 knockouts, a Russian fighter, a decent kickboxer if I'm not mistaken. I think he was like a world champion kickboxer or something like that. He turned over to boxing. He's only aged 31, but he takes on Ilunga Makabu, obviously a guy that we know really well from the Bellew fight and a few other fights. He's coming off a brilliant knockout win against Kudryashov, so I'm probably tipping Makabu to get the knockout there, but that should be a great fight at cruiserweight. That one's for the WBC Silver Cruiserweight title. 12 rounds there, but I'm not expecting it to go the distance. Both men can really bang. And talking of another two men that can really bang, the main event for the WBO World Light Heavyweight title, Sergey Kovalev, the champion, defends the belt and his record of 33-3 with one draw against our very own Anthony Yarde, 18-0 with 17 KOs. I don't think it goes the distance in my opinion, but I'm going to throw it over to you now. The fight itself, give me your thoughts on it.
Well, I think this is going to be a very tough fight for Yarde. Obviously, this is a huge step up. For me, I think Kovalev's on the decline. However, obviously, Yarde hasn't really had that big middle step up yet. He's going straight into a huge fight. But for me, I think Kovalev's in the decline since the fight, since his two losses to Andre Ward and is it Elder Alvarez he's lost to?
Yeah, Leader Alvarez. He obviously avenged it after, but yeah,
Leader Alvarez. But I think for me, I think the younger, the fresher line is going to be Anthony Yarde, and I think Anthony Yarde's going to win. I think Anthony Yarde's going to stop him. I think, like I said, Kovalev's on the decline. I'm going to go with the underdog, which is Anthony Yarde. I think with him, his strength, his power, his speed is very, very good. Obviously, with a masterclass like someone like Tunde Ajayi in his corner, it's going to be very good. It gives it the upper hand. Obviously, like I said, Kovalev, he's getting old as well. He's getting a bit slower, so it's a very tough fight. He's going back into Kovalev Yarde, obviously with Kovalev, with having his fans around him. But like I said, if I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with the Brit, and I'm going to go with my man Anthony Yarde to stop him.
Yeah, very, very tough fight, as you say, Ayaz. And we actually had Tunde Ajayi on the show a few weeks ago, and I asked him, why, when this fight got offered before, did you turn it down? And what has changed for you to now accept it when it's come around? And he didn't really give me a clear answer on that. So I'm intrigued because, I'm guessing it's something that's happened in the gym, because Anthony Yarde still looks the same fighter that he did when the fight got offered the first time around. He's still been knocking everyone out. He's still been doing it in impressive fashion, but They've fancied it this time, and I was intrigued as to why. It wasn't really answered, but there's not many fights that have been happening lately that I've been just absolutely super duper excited for. I mean, the ones that I can think about off the top of my head that's happened recently have probably been obviously Fury Wilder, but that's going back a bit now. A few friends of mine when they fought, like Charlie Edwards when he fought for the world title on the Dillian White and Chisora undercard. There's been a few fights what have really got me excited, and this one here is one of those fights. Anthony Yarde, we get to finally see how good he is. We get to see if Tunde is just completely crazy, and we're all the ones that are crazy for not believing. But I believe in Anthony Yarde. I think he's an exceptional fighter. I also think he's got a much better gas tank than he gets credit for. I think his power is real, and it's the ultimate step up, as you say, as he hasn't really had that kind of middle step up. I like the word that you use there, because that's 100% right. This is it, though. This is it. He's in there with arguably the best fighter in the world at 175. And what does worry me is Anthony Yarde has only had those 11 amateur fights. He's had 18 in the pros. He's only had 29 fights in his entire life in terms of actual boxing fights. And that just worries me. That just makes me think, wow, is he ready for Kovalev? Kovalev is a whole nother level. He's a complete different kettle of fish. And that does worry me slightly. But again, I think Anthony's got the power to knock him out. I don't think it goes to the distance at all, because both men once again are real bangers. So again, this main event and the chief support, I think, end within the distance 100%. And I just think that if Anthony Yarde is as good as he thinks he is, and as some of us think he is, then he could pull it off. But I just can't go with him being the favourite. I just can't see him doing it as much as I'd love to see him do it, because again, he's a friend of mine, Anthony, and there's no fight in the near future that I would love a fighter to win than this one. I'm really excited for it, and believe me, I'll be crossing everything. I'll be praying before the first bell goes. I'd love to see Anthony win. He really, 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 really is such a good guy, and a lot of people don't really know the real Anthony Yarde, and I think if he wins this, we'll all get to see it. But yeah, the promotion hasn't been overly great either, It's like one of Frank Warren's biggest charges here, He's got Anthony Yarde, he's got Daniel Dubois, he's got Josh Warrington, he's just lost Billy Joe Saunders. So they are his three top main guys. Anthony Yarde, he's got the looks, he's got the power, he's got the personality, the body is chiseled. He's got everything going for him, Anthony Yarde. And it's a shame, because this fight here, if he wins this, then he completely shakes up the light heavyweight division. And it depends in the fashion he wins it, but I can only see a knockout win. I can't see him winning on points. So if he gets a knockout and knocks Kovalev out in Russia, and he does it, and Tunde just says, told you so, then we're all going to be like, wow, this is crazy. And Anthony Yarde is a guy that Frank Warren, needs to promote a little bit better, because again, he's been on shows at the Brentwood Centre and he's not even selling out the arena. I mean, that's kind of embarrassing, really. Anthony Yarde, if he wins this, then boy oh boy, I'd love to see him do it. I just can't go with it in the prediction league, which I take very serious. So I'm going to go with a Kovalev knockout, but I really, really, really more than ever hope I'm wrong here. The listeners have agreed with me. It was a little bit split. We had a few votes. 40% going with Kovalev by knockout, 30% going with Kovalev on points, but 23% went with Yarde by knockout. Only 7% going with Yarde on points. I just hope it's a great fight, and if Yarde loses, I hope he puts up a great fight and earns a lot of respect, because he deserves a lot more respect than what he gets, and he's a brilliant fighter. You've got to admire his confidence. A lot of people said this fight's never going to happen. This fight's never going to happen. Do you seriously think he's going to go to Russia to fight Sergei Kovalev? A lot of people were saying you're crazy to even believe that. They're just buffoons. They're just toying around with social media, and they've proved everyone wrong. I even heard someone say the other week to me, oh, there's going to be a last-minute injury, don't you worry about that. And it's like, no. Why can't you just believe that they're going to take the fight and they're going to actually get in the ring, which they are going to. And it's not long now to wait, only 2 days. I am so excited for it. Honestly, I'd love to see him win. I'm blabbering on a little bit, but believe me, I'd love to see Anthony Yarde become a world champion. What a cool guy he really is. Moving out now, though, to the Burt Ogden Arena. This is the final bill to mention. It's happening in Texas, USA. Not quite sure if it's being televised in the UK, but for the US listeners, it's on Fox Sports 1 over here, a PBC card. No one really to mention on the undercard, apart from this one fight, actually. Stephen Fulton, I know he's a former sparring partner of Carl Frampton, I believe. He's 16-0. He takes on fellow undefeated 16-0 record holder Isaac Avalar. So both guys 16-0. That's a 10-rounder there. And the main event, friend of the show, Brandon Figueroa, 19-0. It's for his interim WBA World Super Bantamweight title. He takes on Javier Nicolas Chacon, who's 29-4 with one draw. Obviously, Brandon Figueroa having to see his older brother lose his O a few weeks ago. I'm hoping that doesn't, get in his mind or anything like that, and he comes out and fights really good, because he does. Brandon Figueroa, very, very aggressive fighter, very, very much a fan favourite. He's got that kind of eye-catching style. He's a little bit like his brother, but I just think he's got a little bit more power, and he's big for the weight. He's a great fighter, Brandon Figueroa, real exciting fighter, and like I say, his opponent Chacon, not really a big power puncher. That could be his undoing, because the Figueroas, they love nothing more but to stand and have a fight, really, throw away the boxing skills. But Brandon's got a whole heap of potential, and I think he wins this one and wins it in good fashion. I'm hoping so. Just looking at Chacon's losses, he lost in 2017 to Isaac Dogbe. He retired on his stool after 6. He lost to our very own Jamie McDonnell after 10 rounds. It was a 10-round TKO, but he actually dislocated his shoulder in the 9th. And he's been in there with a few other guys, Anselmo Marino. But yeah, no standout names in terms of his wins, really. So I'm hoping that Brandon Figueroa does it in good fashion. And Omar, his biggest detractor, his brother, keeps telling me every time he comes on the show that he needs to improve on this, needs to improve on that. And he's a guy that I feel is kind of learning and getting better fight by fight. So Brandon Figueroa, certainly one to not sleep on. Very good fighter. Thoroughly looking forward to this fight and the ones that come after it. But that is about everything for the preview part of the show. Just before we wrap up part 2 and finally end the show, the last thing to do is to welcome our second and final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undefeated welterweight prospect. It is, of course, Mr. Keith Hunter. Keith, welcome back on the show, my man.
Hey, it's glad to be on the show again.
No, it's my pleasure, Keith. So we last spoke back in early April. It was just after your win over Rakhmonov. Obviously, you've boxed the one time since. You boxed yet another Mayweather Promotions fighter some weeks back, Cameron Krael. You racked up another win. Talk us through the fight if you can, Keith.
Yes. Man, it's my second time, against a Mayweather establishment. And this time going in, it's a guy I actually fought in the amateurs twice. We were 1-1. I won once and he won once. And so I actually know a lot about my enemy again going in. Again, he's from Vegas, so I kind of had a lot of insight. I just didn't take it randomly. But it was my first 10-rounder, stepping up to 10-rounder. It was pretty good. I knew he was a tough, durable guy. And again, I was going in Mayweather's backyard. He's signing Mayweather. So I really had to be on my A game. And this time I had more time to actually prepare for this one. So I think this time they actually showcased, instead of showcasing also my heart and, my willpower and all of that, I showcased my skill and my talent this time. Again, I was prepared the whole 10 rounds. I controlled pretty much every round, pretty much with my jab. And, I was able to open up with my right hand at times, when I seen opening, because he was just trying to pretty much just, be behind his guard and hunt me down and cut me off, the ring off and everything. But I was able to stay on my feet, stay on my toes, and really use my jab, and he wasn't able to really catch me. And he had his moment during the 8th round, I believe. And the 8th round, it was really kind of like kept him trying to slow him down a little bit, and then my heart, I started trading with him because me personally, I felt like he didn't have really a lot of artillery. It wasn't really hurting me, so it was like I had a moment of trading with him. So they probably thought he got a better of the exchange. After that, I controlled the next rounds. I controlled it, finished it really strong. I had him hurt during, I believe it was 9 or 10. I had him hurt, and I closed it strong, and I only gave away really one round. And pretty much that's why I won it.
And Keith, for some reason, you're sounding a little bit robotic on the sound. I don't know why.
Okay, is it my voice?
No, it's not your voice. It must be your phone or something.
Sorry, I don't know. I'm not bad about that.
No, it's okay. That sounds better. So, Keith, obviously you went 10 rounds for the first time, like you say. How was that? How was that to do 10 for the first time? How did you feel, kind of gas tank wise?
Good. I actually had a better camp, and I was in Big Bear as well for a portion of the camp. I was real prepared, actually. So I surprised myself, actually, because my work rate was really high.
Okay. And what is the plan next? I'm sure that you're looking to box at least one more time before the year's out.
Well, yeah, I actually got to my hand in that fight a little bit. I fractured it. But I'm just trying to, let that properly heal. And I'm pretty much want to be on the fast track. I just turned 27. I need a belt. I really, in my mind, I think I'm the greatest 140 right now. So I'm pretty much, I'm looking at Pedraza's trying to take a step up into the 140 from 135, and I'm looking at him as an introductory so I can actually start getting my name really out there. I'm number 13 right now by the WBA, but I'm actually trying to grab a belt, and I think Regis has it. There's a couple other people who have it, and it's actually vacant there's like 3 or 4 belts in the 140, but I want all of them and then the number 1. So that's my ultimate goal as of right now.
And I saw you in a picture the other day, Keith, with Shakur Stevenson. Did you guys do any rounds, or was it just a workout together? What was it?
He was out here in camp, and I'm a big supporter. And his friend actually, shout out to Keyshawn Davis. He's an amateur. I actually did rounds with his friend that you see in the picture. And, they came down here. And, that's about it. I support him. I was like kind of, like my second time meeting him, really.
Okay. And of course, your older brother, I should say, boxes September 13th in New York against Sergey Kuzmin. How do you see that one going, Keith?
Yeah, that's correct. I see it will ultimately get a W. I believe he is going to get the stoppage as well, probably in the later rounds, because Kuzmin's a very durable guy. This guy is more than durable. He has a lot of knockouts too. So he carries power in both hands. So it's like my brother really has to showcase his boxing ability and actually has to stay away from his power. And it's actually going to be pretty interesting. I hope that, like I said, I know my brother is going to get rid of this guy. I just hope that after he gets rid of this guy, it's going to put him in a good position in the heavyweight ranks to be able to, get at the Tyson Furies or the Joshuas or Deontay, whoever's out there. My brother, he deserves that.
Yeah, he certainly does. And when he signs to fight someone, do you do a bit of like background work, a bit of homework to check out who they are? Do you get right into it?
I mean, well, if you know yourself and you know the enemy, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. So you would not be doing your job if you did not do somewhat of your homework on your enemy as to see where he's weak and to see where he's strong. I like to play chess. Yeah.
And Keith, do you ever get nervous watching him fight? How invested do you get when Mike's fighting?
Oh man, that's a good question. Not really, because he's more. He's been more through. He's had a lot of more battles than me. He's been more conditioned than me. He's been more battle tested. So a lot of the times I kind of already. He's in the heavyweight world, so I do fear for that sometimes. But no, he handles himself pretty well. We're never really worried.
And I want to clear one thing up, because I've been referring to you as a welterweight for a long time. It's 140 the weight category that you're going for, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you mentioned there Regis. Obviously, the division's really hot right now. I mean, it has been for quite a while. It's looking like we could hopefully soon get one champion. Obviously, I'm guessing you saw that Hooker Ramirez fight the other week. What did you make of that one?
Man, it's funny because Ramirez was on the Olympic team with my brother, and I knew Hooker from him being in the Mayweather's gym a while back, and I didn't know too much about Ramirez, so it kind of let me know again about competition. I'm more of a Hooker kind of style, and Ramirez, is a bull and a dog. So I was really impressed. That was a very good fight. I definitely want a shot at Ramirez. He's the renowned champ. That would be the ultimate test as well in that division. Despite Regis.
And obviously with Ramirez beating Hooker, he's kind of shut him out now. There was a few people that said that Hooker's the best at 140, but not too many. Obviously now most people are saying it's between Ramirez, Prograis, and our very own Josh Taylor. Have you seen enough of all those guys to kind of tell me who you believe is the number one out of those three? I
can't say too much of Josh Taylor, but despite all of that, I wasn't too surprised of Hooker. I was at a little bit, but I think because he was the only tall guy comparing to all of those guys. The other guys are a little short and they use what they have, but sometimes the tall guys. Well, I'm a tall guy, so it's like I was looking at him to see how well he was advancing and how well he was using his, abilities and height until he got shut out. So I think that Regis or that is a close call. Really, Ramirez. It's Regis and Ramirez. I think is the best one in the 140 division as of right now.
Okay, interesting.
Who has the belt? Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And just before I let you go, Keith, I just really want to throw the microphone over to you, kind of thing. Have you got any closing words just for our listeners before I let you go, my friend?
No, just keep track, keep up with me. Bounty Hunter the Third. I'm trying to not just be the greatest ever, and have all the belts, but I'm trying to leave a real long-term legacy. And appreciate you guys for listening. Thank you.
Well said, my friend. Again, for those that want to follow on Instagram, it is at Bounty Hunter the Third. Listen, Keith, it is always a pleasure catching up with you, my brother. We'll definitely speak soon, and please pass on my good luck wishes to Mike.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Most definitely. I'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 201 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. The return of the Mac, Mr. Ayaz Sumra, is back. He's been with me for the duration of the show. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's podcast, the top super-middleweight contender, Mr. Denis Douglin, and the top super-lightweight contender, Mr. Keith Hunter. There has been one piece of news break while we've been recording the show, and that is that Gennady Golovkin and Eddie Hearn have now joined forces. Golovkin's first fight will be for the vacant middleweight IBF world title against Sergei Derevianchenko on October 5th at the MSG. That's going to be a brilliant fight. I'm really looking forward to that one. The Prediction League is back this week, so look out for that. Of course, just the one fight, Kovalev and Yarde. Thank you all, though, for listening to this week's podcast. Remember to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Leave us a review on iTunes if you've got the time, and we shall see you all again next week.